Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam and this is a Fuji Waterfall Hydrangea. This is the beautiful white flowering Fuji Waterfall Bigleaf Hydrangea. Like other bigleaf hydrangeas, Fuji Waterfall can end up 4 or 5, maybe even 6 feet in height and about the same width, but can definitely be kept in the 4x4 range. Big leaf hydrangeas like Fuji Waterfall are very cold tolerant. They can go all the way up to zone 5 and down to zone 9. These hydrangea macrophylla or big leaf hydrangeas are actually pretty fast growing. They can grow a foot or more in a single season. Once it reaches a height of 4, 5, maybe 6 feet, it starts to be kind of self-maintaining. It won't add additional growth. You'll see some of the stems on the top die and are replaced by new shoots. Big leaf hydrangeas are definitely plants for part shade. They do need some direct sun on them. Ideally, that's morning sun or something in the later part of the day and not a lot of midday sun. You can, as you get up into zone 5, put them in slightly more sun than we can in the south. I'm in zone 7B, and here we, half and half was kind of perfect here. As you go down to zone 8 or 9, you may want to tuck them in even a little more shade, or they'll do this afternoon wilting thing, which can really wear on them over the course of a summer. In terms of where we would use Fuji Waterfall hydrangeas, these are going to end up pretty big, so they're not great foundation plants unless you have a wall that doesn't have windows, maybe on the east side of your house, which is kind of an ideal place to put them anyway. That would work fine. They look great in a woodland garden where it gets some sun through the trees. That's really kind of an ideal location as well. I don't think hydrangeas are great container plants. They're certainly cold hardy enough to live in a container, but it's hard to regulate the water properly for them and the nutrients properly for them. Of course, the main feature on these Fuji Waterfall hydrangeas is this incredible cluster of white flowers. They do have a little bit of a pink hue on the center petals, which is kind of interesting as well, but these look like a regular hydrangea macrophylla, which has the tight ball of flowers. It looks like it exploded, and so the flowers rest around the outer perimeter of it. It's really very, very, very showy, especially in the ground. I don't get great flowering on these in a container. Doesn't seem to really like being in these containers for a prolonged period of time. Of course, the big leaf hydrangeas have very, very nice foliage. They can get some spotting on them later in the summer, but typically in the spring and early summer, the foliage is very, very nice. I've included videos in the description of this video for planting woody trees and shrubs based on your soil type. These really don't require anything special that wouldn't be included in those videos. Definitely don't bury it too deep and don't bury it in mulch. Once these big leaf hydrangeas have been in the ground for a little while, if you're in an area that gets regular rainfall, they're reasonably drought tolerant. You don't have to do a lot of ongoing watering on them. If it gets very dry in the early summer when they're still putting on some new growth and maybe still have some flowers on them, that may be a time to address them. It gets very tempting in the southern areas with this plant. It will wilt in the afternoon frequently, and it gets very, very tempting to water it and water it and water it to try to deal with that. But the plant actually goes into kind of a defense mode in the late afternoon, curls the leaves up a little bit. When the sun goes down, you'll see them uncurl and look normal in the morning. It wasn't really asking for water. You may want to go check it. If you see it in that kind of wilt, you may go check it and make sure that what I'm saying is accurate. But generally speaking, they just kind of shut down in the afternoon and protect themselves in the southern areas where these will grow. Any slow release fertilizer for outdoor shrubs and trees is fine, something that lasts 3 to 4 months. Fuji Waterfall blooms on the old growth. It's a typical old-fashioned hydrangea. The buds on these were set sometime last summer or early fall, and if you had done any pruning on this over the winter time, you definitely would have lost some of those flowers, so we have to be really careful with that. That as tempting as it is to clean them up in the winter, just kind of leave them alone. As they're coming out in the early spring though, you'll see some dead branches on the top of it that need to be removed. Go ahead and take those off. They'll kind of detract from the flowers being showy if you have a bunch of dead limbs along the side of it. If you need to do any major pruning on your hydrangea, your big leaf hydrangeas, do it after they finish blooming in the late spring or early summer. You can get after them, and that way they'll have enough time to regenerate those flower buds for the following year. In terms of pest on these, we really don't get a lot of insect problems on them. We can get a few chewing insects on the underside of the leaves, during the growing season. I typically just don't worry about it on these hydrangeas. A bigger problem we can definitely end up with is leaf spot problems. If the foliage stays wet for a prolonged period of time, if you've got it tucked up in a corner and the foliage ends up staying wet for a week, or you end up having a cloudy week or two during the summertime, we can frequently end up with some leaf spotting on these, which can become quite severe, and you can actually start losing some foliage. Any of that foliage needs to be cleaned up from under the plants for sure. Deer absolutely love big leaf hydrangeas, and they'll eat them to the ground. So if you have deer issues, this may be a plant to avoid. So what are you waiting for? Even you can grow the beautiful Fuji Waterfall big leaf hydrangea. Thank you for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also comment below with any questions you have about hydrangeas.